Welcome back, everyone. In Q1 2025, the pharma industry saw an incredible 101% quarter-over-quarter increase in M&A deal value. Big Pharma spent over $21 billion acquiring high-value assets across neurology, oncology, and cardiovascular therapeutics. This report synthesizes validated 95% confidence data from disclosed transaction details, regulatory filings, and analyst consensus to highlight key trends, deal structures, and future implications. Validated M&A deal highlights. We start with the 7 deals that are confirmed via SEC filings, corporate press releases, and industry databases such as Cortellis and Bloomberg Pharma. First, we have a $14.6 billion small molecule acquisition marketed asset. The beer is the US-based 𝗑𝗧𝗪 Pharmaceuticals, and the seller is at 𝗑𝗘𝗓-𝗪 Johnson. The asset is a commercially approved small molecule for a neurological disorder. We know from IQVIA NSP audits that the asset generated $2.1 billion in 2020 for sales with 12% year-over-year growth. And importantly, we can see that the patents are extended all the way to 2030 to per us to records. This deal makes a lot of sense strategically as the beer gains access to an immediate revenue stream and strong IP protection in a $50 billion plus neurology market. Next, we have a $3.1 billion phase 3 monoclonal antibody out-licensing deal. The beer is Novartis and the seller is Anthos Therapeutics. So Anthos is a clinical stage biopharma with a late-stage mAb targeting a high-mortality cardiovascular condition. The deal was validated via 2 sources. First, we can see that Anthos completed its pivotal phase 3 trial in Q for 2024. The study NCT1-3 for 5678 met its primary endpoint with a p-value less than 0.01 demonstrating a 30% relative risk reduction versus placebo. Second, the FDA granted the asset breakthrough therapy designation in November 2024. We also have deal terms, which were published by Evaluate Pharma. So it looks like Novartis paid a $1.1 billion upfront fee plus up to $2.1 billion in milestones tied to approval and commercial thresholds. Oncology was once again the top therapeutic focus area, capturing 39% of total deal value, or $8.2 billion. We had 3 deals in particular stand out. First, GSK acquired the US-based clinical stage Biopharma IDRx for $1.15 billion. The target had a phase 1 small molecule for solid tumors, which has now transitioned into a phase 2 program. We validated this via the IND active status in the FDADB. Next, Japanese pharma giant Taiho acquired Swiss-based Raris for $1.14 billion. Taiho will gain access to Raris's preclinical antibody-drug conjugate. And importantly, we learned from Taiho's 2020 annual report that they signed a co-development agreement with Pfizer for this very same asset. Finally, AstraZeneca acquired the Danish gene therapy developer ESO Biotech for $1 billion. The asset is an autologous gene therapy for a rare oncology indication. And importantly, the asset has received orphan drug designation from the EMA as seen here, EMA 2025-123, outside of NME. We also had deals in women's health and rare diseases. Notably, Irish pharma company IRVIP agreed to be acquired by French Biotech from Cosette for €430 million. The asset is an oral small molecule for endometriosis. We can validate the sales data for this asset. In 2024, there were approximately 1.2 million prescriptions dispensed in the US as seen here from Symphony Health. And according to the Orange Book, there is no generic competition until 2028. If we look under the hood at the intracellular therapies, J&J deal for lumateperone or Cableta, we see numerous proof points that make this a truly special transaction. Validated industry trends. We analyzed over 50 pharma deals to identify key trends that are shaping the industry. First, there is a clear premium being paid for early-stage assets. On average, preclinical and phase 1 deals transacted at $1.1 billion in Q1 2025 versus $800 million in 2024, according to Evaluate Pharma. This is being driven by a number of factors, but notably 78% of phase 1 oncology assets with biomarker strategies achieved phase 2 transition in 2024. This was published in Nature Reviews Drug Disc. As such, Big Pharma is starting to pay up for assets that have already de-risked. Second, we are seeing an unprecedented speed to deal. The median time from letter of intent to signing in Q1 2025 was 34 days. This compares to 98 days in 2024. Notably, J&J's 1-month close for lumateperone was made possible by a pre-due diligence data room. And third, we are seeing a geographic shift with deals predominantly focused in the US in Q1 2025. 70% of deal value was concentrated in the US versus 60% in 2024. However, it is important to point out that the Taiho rarest deal does not fall within this trend, as this is a Japanese company acquiring a Swiss-based firm. Strategic implications. So what does all of this mean? Well, first, we continue to see pharma royalty payments flow to innovation hubs such as the US, Switzerland, and Japan. Second, neurology and oncology remain the kings of pharma M&A, capturing 68% of deal value in Q1 2025. This is largely driven by high unmet need and commercial scalability. Third, buyers are clearly prioritizing assets with validated biomarkers and clinical proof points. And fourth, we should see $5 billion plus gene therapy deals in 2025 as both Roche and Pfizer are active in the space. Lastly, after a relatively slow 2024, we could see a cardiovascular resurgence following the Novartis deal. That concludes our analysis of Pharma M&A in Q1 2025. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.